So today we're going to be hooking up Drago to the cart, doing a close-up view on how we go about this. He has closed tip shafts, so I'm going to go ahead and undo my quick release shafts here. Slide that out, get him open. Alright, with him standing nice and square, ideally nice and square. So we always bring the cart shafts up high, bring them down, don't eat your lines, you pest. So that's going to go through there, to the top part of our closed tip shafts, metal to metal, slide that through. I'm going to get my lines gathered up again here. There we go. Ideally, I'd have a second person with me, and they could do the other side, but I'm solo. Back up, dude. So we're gonna let that sit there for a second. Gonna come through, hands on the lines, and get this set. Loop. Alright, so we're gonna get that through there, piece to piece, slide through. So typically we do our traces first because these are closed tip shafts. We're securing those first. Then we're going to grab our traces here. We've got them tied up. Untie. We want them in between our false belly band and the true belly band. Slide all the way back. We're going to use the slot end. If you put it through towards the center, it's easier to pop it on the hook. And I've got two options. I can set the lines on him and go under his neck, or these are long enough that I can keep a hold and step around the back. We do our traces on the other side. So basically we do our whoa before our go. If he goes forward for whatever reason, we want him taking the vehicle with him. More important if we have open end shaft tips, because we don't want the shafts sliding out and the vehicle dropping to the ground and him hooked through the holdbacks. So traces first. And what I do is I do the important things on one side then the other, and then I do the next step. So here I've got my holdback strap. I have it buckled on the first hole. This is just a reminder to myself that he only buckles on one hole here. We go underneath our trace, through our footman's loop. We do one wrap in front for him, and we're going to go underneath. This gives me a little bit of friction to be sure that if something happens here, we have a little bit of leeway before we run into trouble, and we can get our vehicle stopped and get things fixed. The other thing about wrapping is I want at least one wrap, because if heaven forbid something happens, again, underneath the trace, there we go, through our footman's loop, around and under. So if something were to happen to our holdback strap, if this were to break, I can undo a wrap and I still have holes to come through. Yep. There we go. So now that we got our two most important things on, we've got our false belly band and our kicking strap are both about the same in order of importance in my book. So again, I've got it buckled on the second hole here to remind me that I need two holes. Do not wrap up your lines in your kicking strap. So we're going to do a wrap around the shaft here. And because I don't have a footman's loop, it doesn't matter if I go under and through, but I usually still go under regardless, just out of habit. Two holes. There you go. Drop it. False belly band. Kicking strap. So he's currently in a perfect position for me to adjust my kicking strap. Kicking strap, we do, for him, it's 1 wrap, feed it through. For ease of flow here, I'm going to go underneath the second hip strap, put it on our second hole, yep, and feed through. So his hip is against the shaft here, and what I want to see is that the kicking strap engages without pulling his crouper off-centered. We may have to go 3 holes, dude. And it's good to double check this every once in a while. If he fills out more or loses weight over his hip, it can affect the fit. But I think we are going to go ahead and change that to 3. We want it loose enough that he can do his normal movements, walk, trot, canter, turns without being affected by it, but we want it tight enough that it does the job of keeping his butt down. So you can see here on the GoPro, he's got a slight tension on it, but it's not pulling the cripper out of position, because when you're making turns, you don't want it sliding the cripper back and forth. Alright, so on the false belly band, we want it adjusted so that when we lift the shaft can slide up to the top and maybe go an inch and come back down. So far as traces and breeching goes, we want to be able to engage the traces and then have, what I like to do is I'll push, engage the traces, and then I'll pull the vehicle forward to engage the breeching. You can kind of see that, see that in between these two. So traces engaged, breeching engaged. You can see the traces go slack when the breeching's engaged, and you can see the breeching go slack when the traces are engaged. You don't want more than just an inch or 2 of movement there, because if you have too much movement there, it ends up running into them and they slap into the breast collar, slap into the breeching. You want it to kind of ease in. All right, dude, we're gonna take you apart.